You were diagnosed with thyroid eye disease a long time ago. And year after year, you weathered the storm and just lived with the damage that was left behind. But even after all this time, your thyroid eye disease could still change. Restoration is still possible. Learn how you could give your eyes a fresh start at TEDhelp.com.
I feel really good about the film.
Monday on ET, Kevin Costner brings his new Western Horizon to Cannes. But before we go, there is something for everybody in theaters, starting with the all-star voices behind If. Good night, everybody.
It's so magical, it sort of stops your heart.
I would have done anything for John, but everybody wanted to be a part of it, for sure.
That includes Matt's Ocean's co-stars George Clooney and an invisible Brad Pitt.
That's true. Brad Pitt is Keith.
What kind of a kid creates an invisible If?
Bradley Cooper, Amy Schumer, and Blake Lively are also some of the
happening now.
It's been more than a week since two men fired into that house, killing a 4-year-old girl. I'll tell you why neighbors say it seems more like an eternity.
Minus an isolated storm out west this evening. Rain chances come down in the days ahead, but as high pressure moves back in, temperatures are going to crank back up. We're going to detail a taste of summer this weekend coming up in a bit.
If a road trip is in your plans for this summer, we've got the checklist to help you avoid any bumps along the road. The News at 5 starts right now. First at 5 today, a historic day for San Antonio. In a little more than an hour, the first direct transatlantic flight is arriving at San Antonio International Airport.
And with that arrival, the countdown begins to the first flight taking off from the Alamo City to Frankfurt, Germany. Our Avery Everett is at the airport for this historic event as San Antonio enters the international travel scene. Avery.
Finally.
Ursula and Dylan, can you believe we've been talking about Frankfurt for almost a year, September of 2023. It's been a crazy year, but we are finally here, and this flight to Frankfurt finally has a home here at San Antonio International. You can see Condor Airlines has its check-in counter right behind me. We're expecting this first flight to land here in about an hour, and then its first flight to take off later tonight. So this new flight is by Condor Airlines, and it usually takes around 10.5 to 11 hours. This nonstop flight launches today. Our past reporting says this is a seasonal flight that runs Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Now, obviously, it starts today, and then it runs right through September 6, 2024. So the city has been looking to secure a flight to Europe for years. Officials have told us because of South Central Texas and its rich cultural ties and military connections to Germany, securing this flight is a huge deal. They also say it has the potential to open up more economic opportunities here in San Antonio. So we'll be here tonight as that first flight lands, and then that first flight takes off. We're supposed to get a tour inside of that airplane, and we're also going to be able to talk to some passengers who are on this historic flight, whether or not they know it. Now I just have to secure a ticket for my photographer, Matt Craig, and I to get on this flight to Germany. Ursula, Dylan.
Sounds like a plan.
Good luck with that, Avery. New at 5, people in the local neighborhood are growing more anxious by the day, hoping for the capture of 2 men behind a deadly shooting.
It has been more than a week since the gunman fired into this family home on Windsor Hollow, killing a 4-year-old girl, then getting away. Katrina Weber tells us why neighbors feel this crime has held them captive since then.
What happened in a matter of seconds last Wednesday evening turned Windsor Hollow near Walsham Road into a crime scene for hours. Bexar County Sheriff's investigators tried their best to track down 2 killers. The men in these surveillance photos suspected of firing into a home and shattering a family. 4 members are still nursing serious wounds, while a 4-year-old girl, who they asked us to identify only as Marianne, was killed.
We're working around the clock still, and leads are still continuing to come in.
In a briefing yesterday, Sheriff Javier Salazar said detectives are still waiting for the right tip to help them catch them. Meanwhile, in the neighborhood, people are keeping their little ones locked up tight.
They're not allowed outside at all.
Wow.
Yeah. Even my neighbors, they don't let their kids outside right now.
How the vibe is out here, it done got quiet. Like, people don't want to come outside.
The neighbors didn't want to share their names and in some cases show their faces, mostly out of fear. They say the shooting has them on edge. Just like the size of this memorial, the anxiousness level among neighbors for those shooters to be caught is growing.
It's just very scary in the neighborhood right now. We just want them caught.
Investigators also want that, hoping the photos might help them crack the case. One neighbor says he's counting on karma.
They're going to get what's coming soon. whether it be the cops, whether it be the streets.
Either way, people here say it can't happen soon enough. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
Right now, Metro health officials are saying if you're going to be outside, be aware that mosquitoes are out and some of them may be carrying the West Nile virus. That's because a mosquito pool tested positive this week for West Nile in San Antonio. The infected pool trap was collected on the southwest side near Loop 410 and Ray Ellison Boulevard. And that happens to be the same area where the first positive test occurred last year. Metro Health vector control crews are going to be treating and fogging in and around that area. The agency asking everyone to help reduce mosquito numbers by turning over or emptying out anything that's holding stagnant water in it or on it. And to avoid being bitten, you can wear long sleeve shirts when outside at dusk and dawn. Plus, be sure to use insect repellent on your exposed skin.
A woman wasn't loving her experience at a local McDonald's, so police say she shot up the drive-thru. According to an arrest affidavit, 32-year-old Samantha Anthony is accused of pulling the trigger. Investigators say this happened in December at the McDonald's on South Laredo Street. Police say she was upset about her order and fired at least 8 times into the drive-thru window, sending the employees running and ducking for cover. No one was hurt. Officers say surveillance video and photographs helped identify Anthony and the vehicle they say she was driving. Anthony is charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. She is now free on bond.
At least 5 people are dead near Houston, where high winds just tore apart buildings and trees. It was a deadly storm breakout here in Texas, and it went all the way to Mississippi. As
ABC's Melissa Adon reports, the destruction left thousands in the dark picking up the pieces. Officials are comparing those storm winds to a hurricane.
Several people are dead after a violent storm pummeled the Houston metro area, blowing windows out of high-rise buildings, flipping 18-wheelers, dozens injured, and more than 700,000 without power.
No, it was scary. I was scared like the roof was going to get torn off. I was scared something's going to fly through the window and start breaking windows. It was scary.
The National Weather Service confirming 100-mile-per-hour winds through downtown Houston. Officials comparing the storm to a hurricane.
This kind of wind is something we have not seen in Harris County since Hurricane Alicia in 1983. There were strong winds in Ike. I remember, so many of us remember in 2008. But it was not like this.
A disaster declaration issued in Harris County.
The next few days are going to be hard. The next few weeks are going to be hard for some folks in our community. They're going to be uncomfortable, but we've been through this.
This Houston family losing their family-run tire shop when it was destroyed by the severe weather.
2.5 years, my family business, and it's hard, really hard.
ABC's Mireya Villarreal in downtown Houston.
If you take a look right behind me, you can see the extent of some of that damage. This is a bar restaurant. Thankfully, nobody was inside when the storm hit, but the power of the winds basically sheared off the entire side of the building.
Across the southeast, cleanup is underway as many are still without power, and there are more threats of flash flooding and excessive rainfall ahead.
Outside of Houston, the National Weather Service confirming a tornado struck the city of Cypress. This marks the 22nd straight day with a confirmed or reported tornado across the country. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott's offering his condolences to the families of the victims of those storms. His office releasing a statement that reads in part, quote, "Our hearts are with the families of loved ones who have tragically lost their lives due to severe weather in southeast Texas. And we remain in contact with local officials to do everything we can to protect Texans and help our communities recover," unquote. He also addressed the state's efforts to restore electricity to residents, saying the Public Utility Commission of Texas is coordinating with utility providers to restore the power to affected areas as quickly as possible, unquote.
Yep, and there was actually another update that came in from the National Weather Service office over in Houston. A second EF1 tornado northwest of Cypress near the town of Waller, which is going to be right in this area right here, was confirmed in the past hour. But you can see as we take a look at the storm reports from yesterday, just how many reports came in of damage from those strong thunderstorm wind gusts, and even some flooding reports up I-45 closer to the College Station as well as Huntsville area. Now, we here in the San Antonio area thankfully didn't see a lot of the severe weather that was found just off to our east, but we did have some spotty rain and a couple of thunderstorms yesterday. Today, temperatures in the mid-80s, a somewhat seasonable end to the work week this Friday. If you're stepping out for any evening plans, there is the potential we'll monitor for an isolated storm or two, especially out west closer to the Rio Grande, with thermometers falling through the low 80s and eventually into the 70s. This weekend, the big story is going to be temperatures. They're cranking back up. So we're going to detail all that for you coming up in just a few, Dylan.
Thank you, Mia. Happening tomorrow, you can get rid of hazardous waste that you have around your house. San Antonio Solid Waste Management is holding a collection event at the Rigsby Bulky Drop-Off Center on Rigsby Avenue near W.W. White Road. You can throw out paint, batteries, oil filters, pool chemicals, cooking oil, and household cleaning products. The center will accept the unwanted materials from 8 a.m. to noon from San Antonio residents only. You must show a picture ID and a recent paid CPS bill. Solid Waste says to keep everything in its original containers and to put it all in a box. Make sure the box is not leaking and place the box in your trunk or in the bed of your truck. Also, there is a weight limit for paint and other liquid waste. For that and more details, go to KSAT.com.
We want to give you a quick look outside with your time saver traffic cameras, and this is I-10 at Frio. Moving slow on those upper levels and even on some of the lower levels here near downtown. This is just a small taste of what you might be experiencing this weekend when 1604 is completely shut down. Here's RJ Marcus.
Well, drivers on the northwest side, unfortunately, you already know the drill. We have some more major closures taking place on 1604 and I-10. So let's go ahead and break down this closure that's going to be running through the weekend starting late on Friday night. So basically I-10 east and westbound from UTSA Boulevard up to La Cantera at the rim, that will be shut down in both directions. 1604 though here from La Cantera will be shut down all the way now to Stone Oak Parkway in both directions. Yes, that includes the eastbound and the westbound lanes here. So some major closures taking place here for all of our drivers on the north side of town and the northwest side of town. But there is maybe some good news here in the future. So TxDOT is basically saying that if they can get some of this work wrapped up early enough this weekend, they may be able to reopen 1604 east and westbound, basically from Vance Jackson to Stone Oak Parkway by early Sunday, maybe early Sunday afternoon. So again, that will mean that we will have now 6 main lanes open in both directions of 1604, basically from Vance Jackson to Stone Oak Parkway. That includes an extra main lane. So that is good news. But again, we just have to get through this major closure, which is running through the weekend, and hopefully they can get all this work wrapped up by Monday, 5 a.m. All right, we have more information on this closure on KSAT.com. Make sure you guys stay safe, give yourself enough time, and plan ahead if you are going to be driving around the northwest side.
Thank you, RJ. Coming up after the break, summer vacation means road trips, unless you're on 1604. Before pulling out of the driveway, there's a checklist you should complete. It can help you have a smooth ride to your destination and keep money in your pocket.
I'm Myra Arthur here in the newsroom with a look at what we're working on for the news at 6 o'clock today. A man facing the death penalty for attacking his own children and his ex-wife. It's the case of Stephen Clare, and he made a court appearance today. We have an update on this case and hear from one of Clare's attorneys. They are the livers of the river, and San Antonio is getting a transplant inside the San Antonio River Authority's groundbreaking conservation effort. What it has to do with those guys right there. And in tonight's History Untold, the remarkable story of Polly Rodriguez. Jesse Degollado tells us about the founder of the first Tejano settlement in the Texas Hill Country, who in his lifetime went from rugged frontiersman to a man of God. That and more today on the news at 6.
Thank you, Myra. School will be out before you know it, and for a lot of families, that means road trips.
They'll be hitting the road, but before you do, 12 on your side's Marilyn Moritz has a checklist to help you avoid some unexpected bumps along the way.
Before you load up the family SUV and hit the road, there are some things to do.
Inspect all 4 of your tires to check for any cuts or cracks or blisters or any damage from hitting a pothole or a curb.
Next, check your tire pressure and adjust it to the number listed on the driver's door jamb. That will make sure your tires are safer, last longer, and make that $3 plus gas take you farther.
You can make your car more fuel efficient by reducing aerodynamic drag. You can take off your bike rack and your roof rack if you're not using them. And don't hate me, but if you just stick to the speed limit, you'll also save on fuel.
Tests show you lose about 6 miles a gallon when you drive 75 instead of 65 miles an hour. And when it's time to fill up the tank,
while many gas stations will offer you a lower price if you pay in cash, a credit card with cashback rewards may actually be a better deal, especially if you're paying more for gas than you normally would in a month.
And if you run into mechanical trouble or have a flat, paying out of pocket for a tow can get pricey. It pays to look into a roadside assistance plan like AAA or Good Sam before you go, or you may already be covered by your car insurance or credit card at no extra cost to you. Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
And if you're hitting the road this weekend, make sure your air conditioner is working, especially if you're going to be doing it around 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. And make sure in your bag heading out the door, you also take the water bottle with you, stay hydrated, and the sunscreen as well. We are expecting plenty of sunshine over the next several days. It's nothing that we haven't dealt with before, but of course it is a little early to be seeing temperatures warm up into the mid-90s this weekend. So yeah, let's talk all about it. Starting off with this evening, a look at your weather headlines here. An isolated storm is possible. That's something that we're going to be monitoring mainly for our far western counties and closer to the Rio Grande. Could see an isolated rumble of thunder or two move off of the mountains of Mexico. This weekend, rain chances come down, a taste of summer, again highs in the mid-90s. Next week, we could see those high temperatures warm into the upper 90s, and we will have some higher humidity in store, which means feels like temperatures will also be something to keep eyes on, and a few isolated storm chances return by the middle to later portions of next week. So as we take a look right now at authority radar across the region, for us here in San Antonio and the Alamo City, we're quiet, nothing happening. It has been a little bit of a different story across parts of the coastal plains. We have a few light showers working northeastward near Cuero, well south of Hallettsville, near Victoria. Some of that activity has moved through Kennedy over the past hour or so, but this is the activity that we're going to be monitoring into this evening. We have seen a few thunderstorms develop over the mountains of Mexico. They are gradually working their way closer to the Rio Grande, so we'll be keeping tabs on this as they move over the Rio Grande and see just how far eastward they're able to survive. The catalyst behind this activity is a couple of different things. We have a cool front that moved through our area yesterday behind some of the rain that we saw this time yesterday as well. That brought a slight break in the humidity behind it, but at the same time we also have this area of low pressure that's moving across the Red River. It is exiting away from our region, but on the backside we've got one final push of upper level energy that's moving through, and that's what's helping spark some of those thunderstorms well off to the west. So notice here on your futurecast by 7 p.m. it's possible we start to see those cross over the Rio Grande. They will be working eastward near Rock Springs potentially, as well as Lakey, maybe even Uvalde by about 9 o'clock. But as they approach the I-35 corridor, most of those are expected to weaken. We'll monitor for an isolated shower that may be able to hold on closer to San Antonio, but again, chances are looking pretty low for us here throughout the remainder of the evening. Clearing things out into our Saturday, maybe a few clouds trying to develop or hang on by 7 a.m. But after that, and after those dissipate, plenty of sunshine takes over, and we are going to see a lot of it into the weekend and early next week. Now let's talk about those temperatures. Right now, we do have some blue skies in place. 89 degrees over at the airport, winds out of the east-southeast at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Waking up for your Saturday morning, low to mid 60s are currently in the forecast. Again, plenty of sunshine and blue skies throughout the day, but notice how those temperatures respond. 88 already by 1 p.m. A forecast high currently pointed around 96. Officially 96 as well for places like Floresville, Pleasanton, Poteet, 95 in Rio Medina, Bandera, also also expected to reach the mid-90s tomorrow. That will be the case Sunday and into Monday, but then Tuesday and Wednesday, as a high pressure system in the upper levels of the atmosphere really moves overhead, those highs are expected to climb into the upper 90s, and that is also the time frame where we're expected to have that higher humidity in place, so feels like temperatures could climb their way into the triple digits. So yes, unseasonably hot over the next several days. Be careful out in that heat. Then we'll monitor for a few isolated storm chances that return by the middle to later portions of next week, guys.
All right, Mia, a lot to watch. Thank you.
Marianne, with sports, the Scotty Scheffler story is incredible. I read somewhere that he began his warm-up and stretches while in a holding cell, still in jail.
You can't make that up. I mean, that is one bizarre way to start your morning before competing in a major championship. He made his tee time, though, so that's one positive. We'll hear from him for the first time after his round this afternoon. Plus, what Luka Doncic thinks the Mavericks' key to victory is in tomorrow's possible series-clinching Game 6.
I did spend some time stretching in a jail cell. That was a first for me. You know, that was part of my warm-up. I was just sitting there waiting, and, you know, I started going through my warm-up. I felt like there was a chance I may be able to still come out here and play, and so I started going through my routine. I tried to get my heart rate down as much as I could today, but like I said, you know, I still feel like my head's spinning a little bit.
Doesn't get more bizarre than a morning spent in jail before competing in a major in big board sports. Shocking news to wake up to this morning on the second day of the PGA Championship in Louisville, Kentucky. Scotty Scheffler, the reigning Masters champion and favorite to win the major, was detained by police in handcuffs when, according to the Louisville Metro PD, Scheffler was trying to gain access to Valhalla Golf Club and drove in the opposite lane to avoid traffic due to an unrelated fatal crash. The report said Scheffler refused to comply and accelerated forward, dragging a detective to the ground, causing injuries. Scheffler did make it to his tee time this morning and said in a statement there was a big misunderstanding of what he thought he was being asked to do. Scheffler's attorney said Scotty will plead not guilty. The world's #1 golfer is being charged with 4 crimes, one of which is a felony. As far as what's going on the course, Scheffler is tied for third after firing a 5-under par 66 to move to 9 under overall. Xander Schauffele through 11 is on top of the leaderboard at 12 under. He and Colin Morikawa are in a battle for the lead, and it's a 4-way tie for third at the moment. Well, the Dallas Mavericks host OKC tomorrow night in a potential elimination game for the Thunder. The Mavs won Game 5 to take the 3-2 series lead on Wednesday, putting top seed OKC in danger of a knockout. Kyrie Irving said this is the hardest series he's ever played, and Luka Doncic says it's his and Kyrie's responsibility to lead the path to victory.
I think it's me and Kai. We are the 2 leaders of the team, and no matter what, they made a run and we stayed together, especially in the fourth quarter at home, which is very difficult to stay together, but we did. Everybody talked, everybody was supporting each other, and that's what we need to do.
All right, Game 6 is tomorrow at 7, and Dallas is favored by 4 points, so we'll see if they can close it out.
Even though they're the lower seed.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary.
We'll be right back.
All right, we'll be monitoring for an isolated storm or two out west this evening. Then after that, the big story is going to be those unseasonably hot temperatures that quickly move in for the weekend. Again, starting off in the upper 60s, low 70s Saturday and Sunday mornings, high temperatures climbing into the mid 90s with plenty of sunshine. That doesn't go anywhere into early next week. We'll also have some humidity to deal with as well. Then a few isolated storm chances by midweek.
Thank you, Mia, and thank you for watching the News at 5 with us.
World News is next.